Now, Lady Justina, we realized last week that certain people, or most people, run away from the call of God, especially when they have been delivered. What could be the danger of this?
Thank you very much, man of God, and thank you for the question. Now, the purpose conversation to me is a very distinct one, is a very weightier one. A man of God made us understand last week that you can lose everything. You can lose the relationships, the money, but do not lose purpose, because that is the essence of your existence. My co-panelists have spoken about the fact that there is a reason why you were saved, and you were saved to serve. And so failing to fulfill your assignment, you are exposing yourself to distinct consequences. One danger is that you lose your gifts and your calling. You lose the talents that you have. A scripture from Matthew 25, verses 14, to speak about the master who was traveling and he gave gift to his servants. He gave some 5, 2, and 1. Now, when he came back for the return, the one with 5 had doubled it, 2 had doubled, but 1 buried it. And so he called that person, "You wicked and slothful servant." Now, if God gives you something, know that there's a purpose for your life. Each and every one of us here have something inside of us. Probably you are a very good writer. You can sing for someone to be liberated. So if you sit on that potential or that gift, you will lose it. God will call you wicked and slothful servants. Now, the master took the 1 that he had and gave it to one with the 5, someone who was expanding their potentials and their capacities. And so if you do not avail yourself for God to use you, the little that you have, the little grace you have, the little favor you have, God will take it and now give it to someone else. Now, that is one thing that happens to you. Secondly, you disrupt the bigger picture. When you do not avail yourself to the calling of God in your life, you put yourself at risk. You put your generation at risk, your family at risk. Look at Jonah verses 1. You know, God told Jonah that, "Jonah, go and preach in a city called Nineveh." Jonah was running away. He went to join a boat that was going to a different location. Now, what happened is that there was a storm that was hitting the people, the crew in that boat. And it was because of one man's disobedience. That was Jonah. Because of Jonah in the boat, the people were about to sink. Now, it got me thinking, this Titanic thing we've all heard. Now, what if the Titanic or the ship did not actually sink because of an ice? What if it was because of one man's disobedience? Thousands of people lost their lives. Listen, what if God actually called you to save your family from that bondage of poverty? What if you have this grace and this favor just to bring your parents out of that barrenness? You were called for a reason. God has chosen you. So Mordecai told Esther that, "Esther, you were called for a time such as this. But if you fail to accomplish that purpose, someone else will be called. And know that when that person is called, you and your family will perish. Your generation will perish. You and your family will reap of that thing that you have done." Why? Because a generation is depending on you. It's not only about you. Many people are connected to your blessing. Now, let's talk about the story of Samuel. In 1 Samuel chapter 1 to 28. Okay, the story between Peninnah and Hannah. Now, Hannah had 2 sons. Peninnah was barren. Am I right? Oh, no, wait. Peninnah actually had 2 sons, but Hannah was barren. Now, from 1 to 28, it was in one verse that Hannah told God that, "God, if you give me a son, I will let my son serve in your house for the rest of his life." Now, it wasn't because God didn't answer the prayer because Peninnah was mocking Hannah. No, God gave Hannah Samuel because of that covenant prayer that she had with God. And so imagine now, after God gave Samuel to Hannah, and when now Samuel grew up, instead of you now fulfilling the covenant you had with God, you're like, "Okay, God, now Samuel is a grown man. He's too fine to be a priest. I think my son can be a doctor. I think my son can be a pilot." Forgetting that you had the covenant with God, that if you give me this son, most of us, one of God mentioned last week that our families are going through poverty and barrenness because your great-grandmother had the covenant with God and she failed to accomplish that purpose. That is why you are here. And so know that if God has chosen you for a time such as this, if you do not accomplish that purpose, trust me, you will not be fine. Let's talk about Solomon. Now, in the books of Solomon, in Ecclesiastes, now Solomon was talking about the fact that, what is the means of having all these luxurious things, having all this wisdom, all these cars, and not being able to, walk in the fullness of my potential, having all these things and not having God. What he's trying to say now, he called all the things that he had vanity. Why? Because if you fail to avail yourself, there will be some emptiness. There's a void that only purpose can fill. There's a void that having God, it's only God that can fill that purpose. And so if you do not avail yourself, you can drive the luxurious cars. You can wear the Gucci, Gabbana, Dulce, and everything that you're going to wear. You can drive the first class, second classes. You can fly in the business class, but trust me, there is a void, an emptiness that only God can fix. And so if you're an Esther and you are here, know that if you do not rise, the Israelites will perish. If you're an Abraham, know that in your obedience is the liberation of your generation. If you're a David, know that if you don't rise to the call, there will be no city like the city of David. Know that if you're a Moses, you were delivered to, bring people out of captivity. Now, I'll end with a quote, a man of God. He told me this thing like 4 years ago. He told me that, Justina, you know what? Legacy is costly. You were called for a reason. It will cost you. Don't worry. You are doing that for your generation, for your family. It will cost you all right. But if there be any problem, let it be in my days, so that my children will have their peace of mind. Thank you.